So I'm going to scrap my full presentation that I did because I've got 20 minutes to break you wide open. 95%. What does that number mean to you? I'm going to stay close, otherwise I'm going to lose my microphone. 95% is the number of people that never hit their dreams. It's substantial. We're going to break that today. I'm going to tell you why that happens. I'm going to share a little bit about myself. I've got 20 minutes to do this, so we're going to be very efficient. So I want to tell you about incredible you, who you are. You are equipped with the greatest technology this universe has ever known. 85 billion neurons, 86 billion glial cells, 2.5 petabytes of information that you can store in your brain. I'm not talking about somebody else in this room. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. That means you, incredible you, are equipped with everything you need to be anything you can imagine. That's one thing. There's another thing. You are in a universe where everything is possible. Margaret Drabble says that when nothing is sure, everything is possible. Do you believe that? That's two things. Number three, you are surrounded by everything you would need to create anything you can imagine. All the raw materials, all the resources, materials, opportunities, people are already here. It's up to you to transform them, and you're equipped to be able to transform them. Do you believe that? Yeah. Because you need to. Let me tell you what's getting in the way. Why do 95% of the people of the world not reach their dreams? It's because they don't believe they can. You might be getting in the way of yourself. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, my story. I'm number 9 of 11 kids. My dad passed away when I was 2 years old. My mom was mentally ill. Okay, I'm going to feel the emotion here and we'll move through it. My mom was mentally ill. So I'm 11 kids. Life was a bit of a struggle. Okay, I believed I was something. My mom taught me certain ways of being. My family taught me certain ways of being. And I taught myself a lot of ways of being. I thought I was somebody. I thought that's who I was. I told that story and I was very good at it. I tell Ryan Morris, man, that's a great story. He'll tell me about his background. I said I would buy that in a Amazon or Barnes & Noble, right? The only problem is it's just not true. In 2009, I was bankrupt. I was foreclosed on. Food at a welfare center in Salt Lake City, Utah. And Steve Hardison happened to call me while I was in the parking lot of a welfare center. I don't remember much about that conversation, but I remember one thing. I asked him a question. I said, "Can I ask you something?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "Can you?" And he said, "Yes." Before I could finish, I said, how can you say yes if you don't know what I'm going to ask?" And he said, "There's nothing you can ask me that's bigger than me. I can do anything." That is every one of you in this room. Do you hear that? That is you. There is nothing you can't do. The only thing that can get in the way is your story. So when we teach our 12 Journeys program based on this book, some of you have read this, The Giants and the Smalls, it's inspiring you. Thank you. It's inspiring you to see the giant that's already there. There's no becoming a giant in the Giant's Journeys. There's unbecoming everything that makes you small. And there's a lot that makes you small. So the first step you need to recognize is that we all have a powerful brain that will learn anything you train it. When you automate that, you automate almost everything you do in your life. 95% of your thoughts are automated. You have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 95% are automated. Only 5% are original, and most of those are negative. What are you saying about yourself? What stories are you repeating? 40% of your actions are automated, habituated. That's a lot. So the first step is to be gently aware and wake up to that you're doing that. And why do I say gentle awareness? It's because we are so hard on ourselves about what we have going on in here. We think we are something and we judge ourselves and we justify ourselves for being that. Anytime you're in judgment or justification, you shut down learning. You can't grow. So your first step is to recognize that you have stuff going on that's automated, and then when you recognize that, to be really gentle and compassionate with yourself about what's going on. It's okay that you're not okay. It's okay that you got this stuff going on. The next step is to feel your feelings. How many of you stuff your feelings? Raise your hand. How many of you numb them out? You find something to do. You've got to feel your feelings. Edith Eger says that expression is the opposite of depression. You want to heal your feelings? Start feeling your feelings. That's the next step. Next, you need to accept and acknowledge what is. Acceptance isn't resignation. It's simply an acknowledgement of it is what it is, and it was what it was. Whatever happened in your life is just an event until you make it mean something. The moment you make it mean something, then it becomes something, and then it controls your life, and that becomes your perception. You have this story going on, and this story that you have going on isn't completely yours. It might be from your family or their family. It might be from your culture, your society. It might be from your own experiences. Whatever that story is becomes your perception. And that perception is what you speak to the world. And before you have a chance to speak it to the world, you have a chance to predict it. Think about that word, prediction. I'm going to predict my future. Before I speak it, I'm going to speak it in my mind is what that means. Can you hear that? And then you speak it, you act on it, you get results, but you don't see the results the way they are. You see the results the way you are. That matters. So who's doing the viewing? Who's doing the doing? It's you. So I'm trying to break you wide open here because we talk about being as though it's this cliche, this concept. Hey, you guys be something, right? Lindsay, you know this. Being isn't something you do. Being is something you are, and you are already that. Like I said, there's no becoming a giant. You are already the giant. There's unbecoming everything that makes you feel small. That's what we're doing. When you strip away everything, you're not left with nothing. You're left with everything. Can you hear that? You are already equipped with the greatest technology. You're swimming in abundance. This universe is more abundant than you would ever need to create anything you can imagine. Everything in this room at one point was chaos, and it will return to the chaos. The tables, the chairs, your clothing, all chaos. Somebody had the imagination and transformed it from what it was to what you see today. You have that power. We are transformers. The first law of thermodynamics says energy isn't created or destroyed, it's only transformed. Do you guys believe that? Then you're already equipped with the equipment. You're already equipped with the abundance. All you need to do is start seeing the possibility in you first, and then from there project it out to the world. That's when your world starts to change. This was an imagining. Never existed before in the history of man, right? And this isn't special, this is something you couldn't do, but there's a message in here for you. Never existed. I have a conversation with Steve Hardison. In 2009, my perception starts to shift. I start to think, well, is that possible for me? Can I do that? Can I be that giant? Think about the power of questions. Can you do that? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? What a powerful question. And you can't help but answer it. That's the power of questions. When you realize your power and potential, and you start to step into that, and you realize I'm already everything. There's no becoming anything. There's just being. Steve, is that accurate? To a degree. Today it is. Yeah. For Steve, it's true, right? So for you, this is a chance to really look at who am I being and acknowledge it and give grace to it and gratitude for it. The next step that we want to look at is gratitude. There's 3 areas that I try and focus in: the roots, the shoot, and the fruit. And the reason I say that is because we get stuck in a loop, and that's all happening in here. Roots. So I had no idea these were even going, but there you go. The root, the shoot, and the fruit. But the reason you want to focus on the roots is because when you get stuck in that loop and you're automated, there's nothing to do when you're in your automations. When you're in your habituations, you are just in your habituations. That's it. That's all that's happening. When you come out of it, there's no judgment needed, no justification needed, just simply a re-engagement with what you're committed to. And when you can commit to that, then you can re-engage in a new and more powerful way. Give yourself some grace. Being human is challenging. Right? Would you all agree with that? You wake up every morning. I wake up sometimes with depression and anxiety. It's like, I don't know if I can do this. In 2017, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and complex PTSD. And I thought, man, that's me. But it's not. It's just what's occurring. So for you, you might have these things that have happened in your life. Traumas, neglect, abuse, all these mishappenings, the things that didn't go the way you thought. They didn't measure up to your own ideals. Lisa Feldman Barrett says that you feel depression when you're not living up to your own ideals, and you feel anxiety when you feel like you're not measuring up to the ideals you think others have for you. And here's the paradox. All of the ideals are your own. You can't know what somebody else is thinking unless you project your own thinking on what you think they're thinking. How ridiculous is that? And so you create your suffering. When you can take yourself, elevate yourself to a degree to be empowered, and not completely empowered, not perfect, but you can be empowered enough, then you can start to reach beyond what is into the what can be. You're surrounded by uncertainty. You're surrounded by abundance. Those are beautiful blessings. Now you can create a vision. And here's the paradox of a vision. The moment you set a vision, now you've created a new ideal, and now you've created a new way to create suffering. Right? Because now you're not measuring up to what you think you should be. So be gentle with yourself around that. All it was an idea. If it never came to be, would that be okay? Yeah. You're bringing miracles into this world. You're designed to transform what is into what can be, and you can only do it in your own way. You are the unique fingerprint that gets to transform it. Nobody else gets to do that. I did it in a way called the Giants and the Smalls. Matt Evans did it in a way called this event right here. They're all creations, and they're all unique. And you have your own version, and we can't experience it until you show up. And you're here in this event, we're talking about being, and that's fun as a concept. But what we're talking about is you are the being. You are the power. When you recognize that, when you step into that, everything changes. And one thing I wanted to hit on really in a big way today was relentless resilience. The ability to get back up again and again and again and again. Right? Are there days where it's really hard to get out of bed? Are there days you want to quit? Are there days you don't know how you're going to do it? If we look at the definition of failure and success, a failure is a negative yield from your efforts, and a success is a positive yield from your efforts. That's all it is. Notice my wording here, that a negative yield and a positive yield are subjective. You make up the definition. There is no objective definition of what those words mean. So you decide that's a negative yield, that's a positive yield. I'm happy, I'm not happy. I'm satisfied, I'm not satisfied. Your perception is everything. This is why we get back into the inner world of giving ourselves some grace for whatever's going on in here. Because there's a lot that goes on in here. Right? And we all have it. I've been doing this work a long, long time. And there's sometimes I wonder if I can even do it. I get up here and speak, and my goal is to serve you. And I heard a statement by Chris Doris that said that you can't be nervous when you're in service, which is so powerful. Am I okay on time? 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, we got plenty of time. Plenty of time. So I really want you to look at yourself. You know, let's look at this inner world. What's going on in here is the most important thing, because it's what's getting in the way of who you think you are. So recognize your non-conscious patterns. Give yourself some grace in your awareness. Feel your feelings. Start to feel your feelings. Get comfortable being uncomfortable with your emotions. Accept your life as it is. It is what it is, and no matter what you say, your life is what it is, and it was what it was. Convince me otherwise. There's no chance. Your life is what it is, and it was what it was, and in no way is that a statement of resignation. Can you hear that? You are not a resignation of your experiences. Your life was what it was, it is what it is. Now express gratitude. What's positive about what was? What's positive about what is? Gratitude is the foundation of all abundance. When you start to see gratitude in the world, you start to see all the abundance that surrounds you. And when you can see that abundance that surrounds you, you start to see possibility in the uncertainty. Who loves uncertainty? Raise your hand. That's impressive. That's impressive. A lot more than I thought, right? Uncertainty is pure possibility. It's possibility in its purest form. Everything is truly possible. When you can start to see that, you start to see the abundance that surrounds you. You start to vision. Now we start to let go and surrender. The word surrender comes from Old French. It means to render over to another. I was talking to Fiona today, and she said that you were talking about your dreams and visions, and the moment you gave up, they started to come through. Well, she didn't give up. She didn't quit, right? She gave up, right? Turn it over. Give it up. Give it up. When you can surrender, then it's about small steps. We say that giants still take small steps. They're just bigger, right? So small steps repeated create the complexity of life. When you can take these small steps, you don't have to take giant leaps. Some people do. Not a requirement for success. If I can serve one person in this room today, I've won. That's my definition of success. If you're impacted and move one person, I have pretty good odds of that here, right? Done. Eric? All right, guys, I'm going home. So think about that. Small steps repeated create the complexity of life. It's a measurement. It's how nature works. It's how nature grows. You'll see it in what's called a fractal pattern. There's your F, Steve, one of three. And then it's in those fractal patterns that we repeat things, and they're self-similar, but they're different. And it's in those repeated patterns that we create everything. Everything. So don't give up. If we go back to the idea of relentless resilience, that is it. It's going through that cycle over and over again. When I first began this journey, I was terrible at it. I tell my clients, in order to get what you want out of life, you've got to be willing to suck at something long enough to get good at it. How many of you are willing to let yourselves be terrible at something and look messy? Yeah, I'm seeing some, dude, I love this audience. I don't have to convince you guys. So this is for you. This entire event is yours. Our goal, our mission, our vision is for you to see that you are already greatness, that you are already a giant, that everything you need to create anything you can imagine is already there. So it's up to you to create it. Every one of us is trying to convince you of that, from Sanyika to Ankush to Dominic. And I love this man. Like, I look up to him. It's just because he's taller than me. you and Sanyika. These guys are giants. Ankush, you're a giant as well. When we use that term, it's not a physical thing. It's not about achievements. Let me create a distinction between accomplishments and achievements. An achievement is something that is complete and finished. An accomplishment is the pathway that got you there. We're about accomplishments. Being a giant isn't about achievements. It's about the pathways that you create as you step into your greatness. And every one of you has the ability to do that. Do you believe that? Yes. I don't know that you do. Yeah. Fight me for it, right? So if I were to leave you a message here, is that you are the giant in my story. So as much as Rose says that I'm the giant in my story is true, nobody else can come live my life for me. I am the giant. Steve, for a moment, put me on his shoulder and stood up and showed me that. That's what helped me to become a giant, is that he put me on his shoulder, he stood up so I could see my possibility and my potential. He showed me. I want to do that for you. I want to put you on my shoulder. I love that. Can you show the room, Steve? This is for each of you. That is you. That is me. That is every one of us in this room. What is it, a Bryan Adams song coming to mind? Everything I do for you. Yeah? That's what came to mind. Yeah, dude, sing it. Sing it, Sanyika. We'll duet this thing. We'll get up here and duet it. I love you guys. I just want you to know that.
We love you, Nick.
Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. That's it. That's beautiful.